Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and my ignorance is appalling. I used to think I knew something about classical music. I really did. I've been doing this for 35 years, 40 years, who knows? But it seems not. It seems I know absolutely nothing, because I just got the summer new release list from Universal Music Group, and I don't know anything about this stuff, apparently. Somehow the universe has passed me by while I've been sitting here just listening my little ears off, and I'm completely baffled. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. So I have to share this with you. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Are we all equally delusional? Have we all completely lost track of what it means to listen to classical music, or what classical music is? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know the answer. But let's go through this new release list and see if maybe together we can figure some of it out. I'm at sea, completely at sea. Let's start. Okay. New is rising star, Chinese pianist New. He releases his second Universal Music Group recording, this is on Decca, led by rare and thrilling repertoire, showcasing the truly extraordinary Franz Liszt solo piano transcriptions of Beethoven's epic Fifth Symphony. I didn't realize that was rare. I mean, rare? When was that rare? Glenn Gould did it, for heaven's sake. What do you mean rare? Anyway, it's not rare. New delivers a transformative recording. I'm not quite sure what it transforms into, but it's transformative. Maybe it's like the movie Transformers. It becomes like a toolbox or a tank or anyway. A transformative recording of the original symphony, widely known as the Symphony of Fate. Widely known by whom? That's news to me. 2 Beethoven warhorses complete the project. The beloved Pathetique and Moonlight Sonatas, plus New's own composition, Hope. Well, okay, it is a classical record. Of course, it's called a classical record, so that I grant it. I recognize the classical bit, but of course it's called not Beethoven piano music. That would be way too simple. Or Beethoven's Fifth, Beethoven Liszt Symphony Number 5. That would be far too, descriptively accurate. And I love the fact that they call these things war horses, because that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. We have to counter the originality. We have to counter the rare and thrilling repertoire with 2 war horses, so that people don't get worried that maybe it's something that they don't know backwards and forwards. But of course, how could they not know Beethoven's Fifth? Maybe not this transcript. Why am I even discussing this? Why? What's the point, right? Anyway, the title of the disc, because all discs now have titles, no matter what, they have titles, is Fate and Hope. The very startlingly original Fate and Hope. Tells you a lot, doesn't it? You see a disc, it says Beethoven, Fate and Hope, New. That's what the disc says on it, on the cover. It tells you nothing. Nothing! Okay, next. Oh, by the way, you don't know whether these things are being released as physical product, as digital product, or as LPs, or CDs, or a combination. You just have to figure that out yourself. Next, also on Decca, is something called Moux. 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 And it's called Heart Pieces Extended Play. Who asked for it to be extended? What was so wonderful about Heart Pieces that it needed to be extended? I wouldn't know. I don't know what a Moux is. Anyway, here is the description, the PR description. It seems like the folks at Universal are just as confused as I am. Here we go. What is Moux? Freedom, discovery, an unbiased listening experience. Get it? Unbiased. If you don't like Moux, then you're a foo. That's what they're telling us. There's something wrong with you if you're not a Moux fan. Anyway, you have 3 pieces on here. Heart Pieces, and then Avenue des Rêves, Avenue of Dreams. And then With Me, With You. That's the extended Moux. It's classical. That's because they tell us it's classical. So it's classical. It has to be classical. Next comes a disc by Eczema. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Ezinma. Ezinma. It's not eczema. It's Ezinma. I'm sorry. I have to apologize. Seriously, I read that a little bit wrong. Anyway, it's called Classical Bay Extended Play. See, it rhymes. And this is also Decca Records US. I mean, God knows nobody overseas would have thought of this. And Ezinma's style is a blend of virtuosic melodies. It's a virtuosic melody. You can play a melody in a virtuosic way, but can the melody... Oh, why do I even question these things? I should just shut up and read them. It's a blend of virtuosic melodies and symphonic soundscapes with hard-hitting beats. You know, it's like the Fifth of Beethoven, right? Da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum. You know. Okay. A classical fusion that is cinematic, orchestral, and anthemic. It's anthemic. Has something to do with an anthem. Her EP, Classical Bay, succinctly displays her talent as she reimagines music from the classical greats, Beethoven, Bach, and Vivaldi, because she plays the violin, with her own hip-hop infused style. Okay. That's classical too. You know, when people used to take classical melodies and do things like that with them, we used to call it jazz. Remember jazz? It's the kind of music that's in even more trouble than classical music in terms of defining what it is and what it sounds like and what it's doing. I mean, you took a tune and you varied it in some interesting and individual way. Usually it was called jazz, but apparently it's not jazz. It's now fusion. It's a fusion. Okay, fusion. Next comes, this is Deutsche Grammophon. Next comes Moby, Reprise. The disc is called Reprise, and it's by Moby. I have no idea who Moby is, other than somebody who pops up in Herman Melville. Anyway, Reprise sees Moby revisiting and reimagining musical highlights from his 30-year career. What was he doing? Where was I over the past 30 years? Together with the Budapest Art Orchestra, he has re-envisioned some of his most recognizable rave classics and anthems with new arrangements for orchestra and acoustic instruments, joined by a stellar lineup of guest artists from across the musical spectrum, including, here we go, Alice Skye, Amethyst Kia, Apollo Jane, Darlingside, Dietrich Haddon, Gregory Porter, Jim James, Chris Christopherson. I know him. Chris Christopherson. I thought he was dead. Luna Lee, Mark Lanigan, Mindy Jones, Nately Dawn, Skylar Gray, and Vikinger Olafsson. We know him because he's on DG too, and he's kind of interesting. So I guess Moby's a big deal. It's Deutsche Grammophon, and it's classical because they tell us it is. That's what makes something classical. The record label tells you that it's classical, and therefore it's classical. Okay, Sophie Hutchings. She's next. Something called Love and Keep. Mercury KX, that's the label. Following on from her 2019 album Scattered on the Wind, Sophie Hutchings brings us a beautiful new extended play. These must all be digital-only releases, I guess. To guide us to a space of tranquility, Love and Keep is based on nostalgia, and this is in quotation marks. The idea of holding onto and valuing something from the past whilst also accepting and embracing the current times we live in, allowing the world of technology to fill in the quote-unquote sonic fabric. Boy, that says a lot. It's classical. That's all you need to know. Next, Ludovico Einaudi. Now, Ludovico Einaudi is the most popular streaming person in like the universe. He has like 30 billion click click things on him. And he's an Italian pianist. They make the point, of course, that he's classically trained, because all pianists are classically trained, basically, at one point or another in their lives, unless they're self-taught or possibly jazz musicians. But essentially, if you go to your piano teacher at some point in your life, you will probably be classically trained. So, with a career spanning 3 decades and multiple generations, I don't know what that means. 3 decades and multiple generations. Maybe he's a time traveler. I don't know. Composer and pianist Ludovico Einaudi's captivating music has become some of the most recognizable in the world. That is true. In celebration of his incredible cinematic achievements, because he's done a lot of film and television and commercial work, Decca Records is thrilled to release Cinema, a new hand-picked collection of Einaudi's incredible musical works from film and television, to be released on June 4th. Well, that's only in a couple days, so we'll get a chance to listen to it, I guess. I mean, he writes commercial, classical / pop / minimal, new agey music, and that's always popular and good for him. It's classical. That too. Oh, Anushka Shankar. We all knew Anushka Shankar. She's Ravi Shankar's daughter or something like that, or granddaughter, one of those things. Love Letters P.S. Extended Play. This is also on Mercury KX. Love Letters P.S. is an extension of Anushka's Grammy-nominated album Love Letters, and will feature new songs. Sister Susanna. Oh my goodness, as in Carlisle Floyd's Susanna, or Hindemith's Sancta Susanna. That could be fun. Opening, Flowering, Drinking. Feet, Norah Jones. I don't know what that means. And remixes from Caitlin Aurelia Smith and Sand Dunes. Okay, so it's Anushka Shankar, who was world music. Really, she wasn't really classical. I mean, her father was world music, and she's the descendant. And it's classical, because they say so. Yeah. Oh, look. Wait a minute. Nazgul Snezik-Yegin is got something here. I'm sorry, I mean Yannick Nézet-Séguin. That's him. He's playing the piano because, during COVID, you couldn't conduct. You had to be by yourself. So he put together a disc called Introspection. And here it is. In the summer of 2020, when the pandemic turned down most of the cultural life all over the world, famous conductor Yannick Nézet-Séguin found, as he describes it, quote, kind of a salvation, unquote, in playing the piano, and recorded his very first piano solo album, inspired also by the memory of his admired teacher, Anicia Campos, who had passed away that year. Deutsche Grammophon will release Yannick's Introspection digitally and in a vinyl edition with selected tracks to follow later in the summer. God knows what this is. It doesn't tell you anything about what's on there. Either he composed it or it's other stuff or who knows. And it's touching, and I'm sure it's very sincere. And we have no idea how good of a pianist this guy is. And it's on Deutsche Grammophon. Therefore, it's classical. Wait. Martha Argerich, Daniel Barenboim, and the Staatskapelle Berlin play Debussy's Fantasy. The Fantasy, that's fun. The Violin Sonata, the Cello Sonata, and La Mer. Well, there we go. Something that's really classical with like famous people and everything. To celebrate Martha Argerich's 80th birthday on June 5th, Deutsche Grammophon is proud to release her first recording of Debussy's Fantasie, which should be lovely, accompanied by her childhood friend, Maestro Daniel Barenboim, and his Staatskapelle Berlin, who will be presenting one of Debussy's most famous works, La Mer. To complete the program, Daniel Barenboim brings back 2 of his closest collaborators, Michael Barenboim for the Violin Sonata, and rising star Kian Soltani, who did a super Dvorak cello concerto with him, Kian Soltani for the Cello Sonata. All recordings were made in 2018 to mark the 100th anniversary of the great French composer's death. Okay, so the recordings were made to mark the 100th anniversary of the death of Debussy, but the record is being released to celebrate Martha Argerich's 80th birthday. It's both. It's a 2-for-1 dedicatory extravaganza. But that'll be fun. That'll be fun to listen to. It's nice to hear her do that. So that's good. That's on Deutsche Grammophon. And it really is classical. Oh my. Chad Lawson, You Finally Knew, the deluxe edition. Because why would anybody want like the boring regular edition when you could have the deluxe edition? Pianist and composer Chad Lawson announces his new album, You Finally Knew, Deluxe Edition, set for release on June 4th. An expanded version of his 2020 Decca Records US release, the Deluxe Collection adds 5 new songs to the album's original 12 tracks. In addition to the 4 new interpretations of previous album tracks, a standout song from the set is Lawson's well-received cover of Billie Eilish's When the Party's Over. The heartfelt interpretation has garnered nearly 250,000 YouTube views since its debut earlier this year, and Billboard succinctly stated that his rendition will make you melt. Well, there you go. Anybody who wants to melt. Who the hell is Chad Lawson? What does this mean? He's doing Billie Eilish. It's classical, right? Next, back on DG, Dustin O'Halloran is releasing something called Silfur, S-I-L-F-U-R. Oscar, Golden Globe, and BAFTA-nominated and Emmy Award-winning American pianist and composer Dustin O'Halloran presents his new album, Silfur. The problem features a selection of works from his solo piano albums, Piano Solos 1 and 2, For Laban, Lumiere, and 2 brand new compositions. Do you notice that all of this stuff is reissues? They're extended, they're remixed, they're redone, they're rejiggled, they're tumbled, they're spin dried, they're ironed, they're pressed, I don't understand why they can't release albums of people doing like original work. Why do you have to have more of the previous album that nobody heard of with more things? Is anyone asking for this stuff? Okay. Yes. Next, Reddy Haza on Decca, the Stolen Cello Deluxe Edition. Wait a minute. What was the other thing here? Oh, that was also the deluxe edition. Yes. Oh, so much of this is deluxe. That's just fabulous. That's so wonderful. It's deluxe. Following the success of his debut album, The Stolen Cello, cellist Reddy Haza announces a new deluxe edition. It's the same album? Okay. The exquisite collection of music will be joined by 5 new tracks, which showcase Haza's unique style and reveal more of his poignant story. Finger Dance guides you through the scales and choreography of mastering his instrument. Playtime is wistfully reminiscent of childlike play and games. Not Far is an emotive exploration of dreams that weren't as far away as once thought. And Morning Breeze paints a picture of waking up to morning in the mountains. The final addition to the deluxe album is an unexpected cover of The Beatles with a little help from my friends. Haza's tribute to a band that inspired him as a young musician who dreamed of freedom. Well, I will say this, the Beatles are definitely classical, and I mean that seriously. Classical song composers. This? I'm not so sure. Oh, wait, Gustavo Dudamel, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, Mahler 8. Wow. Now, this really puzzles me. Remember, they released the Ives Symphonies, and it was a digital-only release initially, and then it came out as physical product. They tell us nothing about what this is going to be. Gustav Mahler's mighty Eighth Symphony spans a universe of emotions, channeled through everything from passages of intimate reflection to overwhelming outbursts of choral and orchestral sound. This extraordinary work can now be heard in a revelatory interpretation. It's a revelation, but it's not transformative. Let's keep that in mind. From Gustavo Dudamel of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, massed choirs, and a masterful assembly of solo voices, recorded live at Walt Disney Hall in 2019. Set for release in June 2021, Gustav Mahler, Symphony No. 8, documents a landmark performance that brought the LA Philharmonic Centennial Season to a triumphant conclusion in 2019. Okay, good. That's nice, but I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with this. Why? Because Mahler 8th is becoming sort of like Vivaldi's The Four Seasons. Something anybody can do anytime, anywhere. You have a few people together in one room, because they just released a terrible Mahler eighth with Yannick Nézet-Séguin and the Philadelphia Orchestra. Remember that? That just came out fairly recently. And so here's another one. Okay. Isata Kenna Mason, Summertime. Summertime is the sparkling new album from vibrant pianist Isata Kenna Mason. Isata brings her signature flair to this virtuosic and spiritual music for solo piano. The album, out July 9th, yes, includes a world premiere recording of a Samuel Coleridge Taylor piece, as well as works by Samuel Barber, Amy Beach, Aaron Copland, George Gershwin, and Earl Wild. Great. Well, we know what the Gershwin's going to be. I'll bet it's going to be Summertime. And it's very nice that she's doing this, and I'm sure it will be just lovely and terrific and wonderful. And notice how all they're doing now basically is like weird recital records. You know, there's just all these compilations and collections and things. They're trying to sell the personality of the artist. And that's a problem if, as this is, it's classical. Because what are they selling? I mean, they're playing the same stuff everyone else is playing, unless they're doing it with their hip-hop beat, in which case they can personalize it all they like. Yes. Okay, Kit Armstrong, William Byrd, and John Bull, the visionaries of piano music. Well, they weren't exactly visionaries of piano music. They were visionaries of keyboard music, possibly, but you know who's counting. For his first album, pianist and composer Kit Armstrong presents works by two composers who elevated instrumental music to new heights of refinement in the golden age of Elizabeth I and her successor, James I. That's it. I'd listen to it in a minute. Sounds interesting. Go Kit. And finally, another violinist. Holy cow. Pianist, violinist. It's all we have here. There was a cellist in there, wasn't there? And the star of the clarinet, I forgot. Nicola Benedetti, Baroque, on Decca. Boy, is this long. You ready? Decca Classics is thrilled to announce a new Baroque album from Grammy Award-winning violinist Nicola Benedetti. This is the first album Benedetti has released on a period setup. Oh, she's playing a period setup, including gut strings. And she is joined by a leading group of freelance Baroque musicians, a pickup ensemble, forming the Benedetti Baroque Orchestra for the very first time. The album features a selection of concerti by Vivaldi, plus Gemignani's incredible arrangement of Corelli's La Folia, one of the oldest Western classical themes, which has been arranged by many composers over time, particularly in the Baroque era. Gemignani was one of the greatest violinists of the era, and Corelli was one of his teachers whilst growing up in Italy. Later, when he moved to London, Gemignani reworked a number of Corelli's works for local audiences, including this arrangement of La Folia. That's it. I mean, it was written in England, these things, because they're using whilst. That's how we know that it's British. All the whilst people are the British people. That is the summer of universal music. Now, it's all classical because they tell us it is. What am I missing, folks? What am I missing? I don't understand any of this. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what the music is. Partly it's because they don't tell us what the music is. But you're not supposed to know what the music is. You're not supposed to care. All you have to care about is that these people are classical and it's classical. So you just buy it because it's classical. I'm puzzled. I'm going to keep on listening. Probably not to most of this. Some, well, I'll bet you can guess which ones I will listen to and which ones I won't. Thank you for joining me. I'm sorry if this was sort of a downer, you know, but I'm still completely puzzled. Take care.